how would you like to see representation both in games and in the industry? What do you think? How do you think this could be handled better by the industry?
Well, the good news from my perspective about it is that it seems to be representation isn't just at the cosmetic actor level now, it's happening on all levels, which is great. I would like to see it at CEO level. To be honest, I think that's the only way that we make real change.
Yeah.
I also, in terms of the actual games themselves, maybe not just character creation, maybe putting LGBTQ people at the forefront of scenes in the game, not just maybe mentioned slightly in a cutscene or something, like actually the main character of the game, because we've been struggling to think of our favorite leading LGBTQ people in games.
Yes, we are. It's interesting to see how at first it started as sort of box ticking, and of course we talk about the fact that it takes a hell of a long time for games to be made. So we're now sort of seeing, at the moment, we're seeing, at least with the AAAs, games that sort of started their creation between sort of 2015 to 2019, and we can see what's happened. You can also see when they've sort of wedged someone in, and you're going, oh wow, that's on the nose.
That's a choice.
Yeah, but it is interesting to see how in the past we managed to get in there. So for example, I'll bring up a character voiced by someone in this room, Sylvando in Dragon's Quest. The English voice of that is Shai Matheson. Hello, Shai. There you go. And what's great from a player perspective is that you can see that the character wasn't necessarily written the way it was in its original language, but then when they were bringing it to a Western audience and to an English-speaking audience, they had a chance to make some interesting changes. And the way that character is perceived is very different in Japan, I would say. This is only my personal opinion, than to an English audience. And it's been very interesting to go into auditions, and it really pisses me off that I see reference Sylvando from Dragon's Quest, and I'm like, well, yeah, sure, I'll make sure that I do a performance that is similar to my very talented friend, and then he gets pissed off because they haven't chosen him.
Yeah,
but yeah, it does. It's very interesting to see that we're going from being subversive to now becoming mainstream. Oh God, I hate that word. But yeah, and it's not that many years since I pulled out of an audition. I don't know if you guys all know, but as actors, we don't get a lot of information about the characters that we're seen for until we are, first of all, when we come into the audition, we might have been given some lines the night before. Sometimes we'll get it when we come into the room, and you'll get a bit of a biography. And there was a point where I saw a character who it looked very much like he was very flamboyantly gay, and then had his comeuppance in a very hurt the gays type of way. Yeah. And I had to ask at the audition, I said, is that the case? And they said, we don't know, and even if we did, we wouldn't be allowed to tell you. Yeah. And I had to pull out.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Some people can't afford to do that, so that's super cool that you actually did that. I mean, you might have not been able to afford to do that. I'm assuming a lot here.
I could have done with the money.
Yeah. You got to live with it though, right?
Exactly.
Imagine doing the signings and that and going, yeah, I was the guy.
Jeez. Yeah.
Bearing that in mind, it brings us on to our next question. Do you feel that you're able to bring your lived experience to a role, and do you feel heard?
Oh man. Well, here's the thing. I spent quite a few years pretending to be one thing in order to fit in. And because of that, I seem to have played a lot of angry assholes. Mask, straight chads. And that's the thing. I see myself in them. That's the only way that I can play these characters. I've sort of ended up playing villains, and I think that they're more interesting anyway. But I will say that over the past year or so, because I've become more and more open about who I am as an individual, and been a bit louder about it, suddenly I'm being seen for very queer roles, and I've been playing them. And that's been very interesting. But the problem there has been that sometimes they're not written by people with lived experience. And that's scary too, because then you have the job, but where are you in the hierarchy? Are you allowed to say, I don't think this has been written well enough? And hopefully you have a good enough relationship with the people that you're working with. But the thing is that we work in an industry that is extremely secretive, and people keep their cards very close to their chests. So therefore, we have to be very careful about how we ask for information, and we also don't want to hurt their feelings when we say, I don't think this is well written. So we also have to be diplomats. And
diplomats with no context.
Yes, exactly.
Maybe no line to the person who wrote it.
Yes.
So that could come off wrong.
Yeah.
As well, because there's many people between you and NDAs galore.
There's that. But what about you? How do you feel?
Yeah. So.
God, I've been talking a lot. Sorry.
I've loved it every moment. I was brought up as a girl, and then treated as a woman, and the label non-binary, it's a word that I've heard in the last 6 years. So in terms of bringing that experience to role, that hasn't existed for me. That hasn't happened yet. What I'm actually seeing is I get auditions for 18-year-olds who are discovering that about themselves, which is great, but I haven't got an 18-year-old's voice. Please stop asking me to come in. Someone else should play that, or write it for me. Just age them up quite a bit, that'll be good. But in that, in doing a lot of sci-fi fantasy for audio, I'm playing unconventional women, and I've been, before the way I see it, the label non-binary, before that label came along, I was an unconventional woman. Right? All the things didn't quite fit in with the rules and all that. So I loved Ripley and Sarah Connor, and within theatre they don't exist, and people think you've lost your mind. So I really found a haven in fantasy, because fantasy and sci-fi, because I exist in it without people questioning it, because it's sci-fi and fantasy and it's totally the norm. So have it in the West, having there not been a label till quite recently, I think it's fair to play unconventional women, continue to, especially as most of these are action roles. And so I'm already doing stuff I wouldn't do in conventional film, TV and theatre. So in a way I do feel represented, because I'm not going, oh my God, that one's really a bit passive, I don't really want to play that, or do I want to perpetuate that stereotype about women, or I don't get that in games so much. But in terms of an actual non-binary person who found that in adulthood, that's not happened yet. Please create that character. That'd be great. Thank you.